well. And then we can tell you, even those of you on Lagos Abeokuta Expressway, Mongoro connecting Ile-Zik is free at this time. But of course, you still have it a little bit slow between Ile-Zik to National. Nothing unusual. It's just, of course, you have 4 lanes there, having to narrow into 2 lanes. So that's what's responsible within that particular corridor. We can tell you from Victoria Island, we have a manageable traffic situation, still gathering momentum across most of the areas. If you're descending from Mekwe Bridge inwards Bonnie Camp roundabout, it's gathering due to influx, while descending from Bonnie Camp Bridge inwards Akmado Bello Way is very much in order at the moment. We can tell you movement from Bonnie Camp underneath the bridge heading towards Kufu, Abayomi, as well as Oniru, Kilimanjaro. All those areas looking pretty good at the moment. Connecting Akinadeshola up to Law School is also gathering momentum as a result of a broken down truck that spilled its content. That is inwards Uzumba, by the way. But beyond that point, it is moving steadily. Lekki inwards Marwa is moving steadily too. And then the return journey from Marwa inwards Lekki heading towards the toll plaza up to Sandfield is moving at a slow pace. Good movement inwards School Corner as well as BJ. All those areas, you're still having it good. 1004 and Civic Center, Law School, as well as Oniru, Kilimanjaro on the return journey. All those areas are looking pretty good to go for now. All right, let me see if I can come for 1 or 2 impediments. Yes, we did talk about a broken down empty 40-foot container laden truck that was having mechanical problem at Iyanoba Service Lane inwards Mile 2. We talked about that earlier on with Mike James. But the good news, that has been taken off right now. And so it's a much better drive navigating through that corridor. All right, so on the program this morning, I did tell you we're looking at viable transportation in Lagos, the inland waterways option. And joining me in the studios this morning, I have Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, who is the General Manager of the Lagos State Waterways Authority, a great friend of the house. Nice to have you back in the building. Good morning, Damilola Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Victor. It's great to be here as a great friend.
That's right, and Happy New Year to you.
Same to you, Victor.
It's been a little while since we had your feature on radio. So talk to me. How are things faring with your agency?
Well, faring quite well. As you know, it's not just about coming to come and talk, but we must ensure that we're also doing. And I guess that's why maybe I took a bit of a break.
Right. So you're backing up the talk with some action.
To ensure that we've done a number of things. Because, in Lagos, we don't just talk, we do.
That's right. So let's reflect a bit on the past 12 months with inland water transportation in Lagos. How would you assess it so far, so good?
Well, I see it's really gaining grounds. In terms of safety, I dare say that Lagos is number 1 in Nigeria. And this is because even over last year, we had several states coming over to Lagos to say they want to, of course, learn from what we're doing. We heard about a number of accidents, and of course, we commiserate with those states, and we're willing to support in any way we can. So in terms of safety, we've seen how Lagos State has really upped its ante in terms of ensuring that we have safe waterways. Yes, right. We had very few incidents last year, and compared to previous years, you can see that the numbers have significantly dropped, and it's because we're being intentional about the safety systems we're putting in place. And of course, last year as well, May 29th, Mr. Governor also commissioned Omnibus. This was conceptualized in Lagos, and produced in Lagos, and to be used in Lagos.
Right. We'll talk about those infrastructure that you guys are bringing on board. But in terms of this safety and the records that you guys are achieving, would you attribute it to just advocacy, or perhaps what are some extra things that LASFA is doing to actualize all these and then we're getting results?
Well, the first thing, of course, like you obviously have the policies which are driving safety, and then you have the procedures, and then you have the initiatives. Some of those initiatives, I would say, also have to do with technology, because we've been able to put a few technological systems in place. For example, we have the first of its kind Waterways Monitoring and Data Management Center, and just as at December, from 4 locations where we started from, we're now seeing 10 locations real time on everything that's going on around those jetties as well.
You mean it?
Yes.
So there's something that you're looking at from the back end that can make you see the waterways in Lagos?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Almost like what you have here. So we're trying to replicate what you have in traffic. So, with technology, and then also even with our water guards now who are at those jetties, they also have apps on their phone which enables them be able to gather real-time data, and enables us be able to respond much quicker. Not only that, beyond that as well, of course, we continue to carry out inspection of these boats, inviting them for inspection to ensure that they are safe as possible. That's mainly for the informal sector. And of course, we have a monitoring and a patrol team. We've also continued to improve and expand our search and rescue units as well in case of any emergencies as well.
All right. Okay, so these are all things that you guys are putting in place. Also trying to follow the transport policy, the water transport policy, so to say. But
Absolutely.
then let's look at your regulatory framework. So you regulate all things inland water transportation in Lagos, right?
Yes.
So what roles does Lag Ferry and then the operators do? How did they perform last year?
Well, they did well, but of course, I'm a regulator. They are operators, and that's basically there's a clear distinction between a regulator and an operator. The regulator creates an enabling environment for the operators to thrive. Yes, were there challenges? Because yes, there were challenges because of course, a lot of them are using fossil fuel engines, which is petrol boats, and of course, you know what the price of petrol was last year.
Right.
So I would say that was one of the major challenges they had to deal with last year, which didn't stop them, but of course it limited, of course, in terms of petrol, because once the price of petrol increased, then that means the ticket prices as well increased as well. So we saw a dip in the amount of people who were using water transportation, but of course
that's as a result of cost, right?
As a result of cost, because as it is, water transportation is expensive because the components that make up water transportation are also expensive. At least most of the components are components that we of course import. It's not as if we have them here being made locally.
So how many private operators do we have at the moment?
How many what?
Private operators.
Actually, so we had about 352.
Ooh, 352.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of them and a lot of them just have single boats. But one of the good things about it is that they've all been organized now into what we call associations and cooperatives. So we're having them in clusters now, and I can simply say we have about 4 to 5 clusters of them all together now.
Before now, some of those that make use of the waterways did talk about some of those small boats that are being used on the waterways. What's the last one doing in that regard? Have things changed between that time and now?
Let's look at the road. And the question is, are the downfalls there?
Obviously they're there.
They're there. So you don't just come but what, do you want to improve the downfalls? Most definitely. Do you want to ensure that people are transitioning? Yes, most definitely, which is why I said to you, arranging them now in clusters enables them to be able to come together, and then of course be able to access, like for example, the omnibus boats which have been commissioned by Mr. Governor. The whole idea is that if you're in a cluster, in a cooperative, then you have access to be able to go and obviously bid and be able to get some of those boats, and that's the way we gradually begin to transition. Because remember the times of Molue, then to downfalls, then from downfalls to where? To BRTs. Right. Was there not the transition?
Definitely.
So the waterways as well, there has to be a transition as well, and that whole process. Because imagine if you just wipe away all of the small boats and then you don't have the requisite supply that's brought in, what happens? You create a gap, and we don't want to create a gap because they are faithful people who use the waterways.
Those omnibus boats that you just mentioned now, talk to me. What's the size? How many people can they carry?
40 passengers. Boats. Yes, it was conceptualized, of course, it's Mr. Governor the concept was basically from Mr. Governor, and as you know, the Commissioner for Transport as well was involved in that as well, and of course it was built by Caverton Marine in Lagos here. That's why I said it was conceptualized in Lagos. It is built in Lagos, and of course it's being used in Lagos as well.
And you are monitoring those boats. I hope they're still functioning effectively.
Absolutely, they're functioning. Yes, they're functioning optimally. However, we plan them for a lot of commercial operations and also charter operations.
Okay.
We are seeing that there's more of the charter than the commercial because, of course, the price of fuel. In terms of when you look at how viable a trip is, but of course this year we're looking for ways to see how we can make it more active even in the commercial space, because we saw a lot of the charts, and I'm sure you heard over Christmas. I'm sure you discussed here all what happened over Christmas.
That's right.
We saw a lot of those boats being chartered over the Christmas period.
All right, that sounds pretty nice. But let's look at infrastructure for waterways transportation in Lagos.
Yes.
How far have we come, especially with the Lagos State intervention?
Well, very well. The Ministry of Waterfront and Infrastructure Development have done a very good job in doing an assessment of our existing jetties and terminals, and ensuring that those jetties and terminals as well are fit for today. And meet where we are currently today, because you have to move with the trend. Because if indeed you're having a lot more people coming to the jetties, then you have to ensure that there are more things for them to even do at the jetties. For example, provide shops for them at the jetties, charging stations, those different things. So these are things that now are being looked at with all of these jetties. And Ministry of Waterfront as well is ensuring that we also have a model for what jetties should be like. Because if other states are coming here to copy us as well, then we must ensure that we continue to set the standards high.
All right, so in terms of infrastructure, which locations now should we be expecting new projects from LASFA and of course the government?
Of course, yeah. I mean, in conjunction with Ministry of Waterfront and Infrastructure Development.
All right.
I know that there are ones in the Ekpe axis, for example, as well. There's going to be one or two more in the Ikorodu as we're looking at the Ikorodu, and along the Ojo axis as well. We're going to see one or two around the axis as well. So focusing on other areas to ensure that we have diversification, because the whole point you want to do is the whole integrated transportation system, where it's not just road, but there's also water and of course rail as well.
All right. Let's talk about inland waterways and how it can support economic growth for Lagos. How viable is that in terms of development of Lagos, particularly in terms of trade and commerce? Can we use inland waterways as well? Can it support?
Absolutely. Let me cheat a bit.
Okay.
Let me be a bit passionate.
All right. Good.
Water transportation will, in any day, any time, because of its time savings, always have an advantage over the rail and the water transportation.
Why do you say that?
There's no traffic.
On the waterways?
There's no traffic.
So you're not looking up to a time when there will ever be traffic on the waterways?
There's no traffic. You don't say you can plan your time appropriately. Yes, once or twice can there be maybe something happens on the boat and then you need to stop for a few minutes. Yes, but you can always plan your time adequately with the waterways, and that of course enables you be able to plan yourself, and of course that leads definitely to productivity, because at the end of the day, if I'm a business owner and I know that I'm going to get to my meetings on time, I'm going to get to execute my activities on time, that definitely leads to my output, and of course that output will definitely have an effect on even the economy as well.
Let's look at parts of Lagos now. Which part of Lagos do you think is busiest in terms of
water transportation?
Yes.
Well, I'll say several. There's always a competition between the Ikorodu axis and of course the Ojo axis as well, because Ojo has a lot of riverine communities around it,
right? Where
constantly in fact Ojo is like Ojo and Apapa have constant day. I mean, all day. There's all day going back and forth. Ikorodu still has its own peak periods and off-peak periods, but of course we have a large contingent of people who live in Ikorodu,
right,
and of course who work on the island.
So talk to somebody this morning who has not been on the waterways. You're mentioning Ojo now, yes, to Apapa. So a journey from Ojo to Apapa, for instance, how many minutes will it take on the waterways?
From Ojo to Apapa should be about 25 minutes. 25 minutes, yeah.
Wow, that sounds so short.
Absolutely. I mean, if I'm from Ikorodu to Falomo, it's same thing, about 25, 30 minutes as well, from Ikorodu to Falomo as well.
Wow.
If I do Badagry to Falomo, it's about an hour. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, can you do Badagry to Falomo by road? If you do it by road, how long do you think that will take? Actually, that question.
Definitely. All right. A lot of times we use terms interchangeably when we talk about water transportation, yep, jetties, terminals, and navigation channels. What are the major differences?
Well, jetties and terminals, as you know, jetties just simply means where the part of where the boats obviously berth, where you embark and disembark passengers. But it becomes a terminal when there's a building attached to that jetty, because that building then has, of course, ticketing points, shops, shops and all the different things that can be. So when you have a building attached to any jetty, it's called a terminal. But when it's just the floating part where the boats berth and where the passengers embark and disembark, then it's called
a jetty. Right. So how many terminals do we have in Lagos at the moment?
Well, we have 7 terminals. We have about 26 jetties.
And are there any plans to upgrade all those terminals, all those jetties to become terminals?
Well, not really, because sometimes you don't have the space.
Okay.
And most of the time is about what is fit for that particular area. If there is a need to, definitely the state government will look into that and do that.
All right, then. Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. This morning on the program, Lagos Transportation Trends and Perspectives. We're looking at viable transportation in Lagos, the inland waterways option. And of course, my guest is Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, who is the General Manager of the Lagos State Waterways Authority, LASWA. Let's get back to the roads before we begin to hear from you. And we did tell you that around the Mile 2 corridor, there was a breakdown there earlier on, but that has been effectively tackled. So it's much better if you navigating through that corridor. Ikorodu Road is receiving with good vehicular flow as well from Ojota connecting Odo Yalaru, linking up with Fadeyi. That entire stretch of 7 kilometers looking pretty good. From there, emptying into Funshaw Williams is also looking good. Echo Bridge, a little bit slow. Some rehabilitation work ongoing within that particular corridor, but nothing unusual. Lagos Abeokuta Expressway, yes, we did tell you, is also good as well. Let me say more updates for you. If you are within the Mushin corridor, steady movement from Bolade Arena connecting Brown Junction. It is steady. You have a high influx, especially at the intersection points. Descending Y Junction and linking up with Goro, heading towards underneath the bridge, inwards Olukwese is very, very good to go. Further movement to Kappa as well as railway line by Ilupeju Bypass, Challenge, along Shogo Post Office, also moving at a faster pace. Ojuoye is busy with commuter and commercial activities as we speak right now. Olosha, Idioro down to Moshlashi is moving pretty well at the moment. No major worries. Return journey from Moshlashi connecting Ojuoye is steady. This is due to some failed sections of the road, which is also begging for attention. All right, then. We can tell you movement from Ojuoye to Bolade Arena, that entire stretch is moving at a much faster pace, except for traffic light alternation. All right, then. Those of you on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, inwards Lagos, still looking pretty good. Transporting your imagination to Lekki Aja corridor, movement from Lekki Peninsula Gate, approaching Farm City, Admiralty Roundabout, as well as a link bridge, Donwan Junction, down to UBA by Admiralty Road, all looking pretty good at the moment. And then movement from UBA, traffic lights alternating, up to Zenith Junction, Dome Church by Freedom Way, and areas like Itedo, Car Wash Junction there, down to VFS, as well as the Kate Gate is also looking good too. So all through that corridor, we can tell you things are moving on pretty fine. All right, so Damilola Emmanuel, last year came with a breeze. Let's project into the year 2025. What is the outlook going to be looking like for LASWA?
Well, it's going to be quite expansive. Okay. The reason why I said so is because, one, we continue to build on safety. Remember I mentioned that with the Waterways Monitoring and Data Management Center beyond from 4 locations, we're now seeing 10 locations.
Right.
And not only that, we're now even starting to have communication between boats on the waterways, where we're set up a system where you can now be able to call real time. Boats can talk to each other.
You mean it?
Yeah, with communication. So we set up from the control room, and on certain boats which we've installed these devices, boats can communicate. So in case of any emergencies or anything they see, they can call back to a certain boat, or they can also call back in to the waterway. So yeah, we're building on safety, and of course we have a significant big project which is called the Omieko project.
What does that mean?
Omieko project basically is a French-funded project,
okay,
which is seeking to boost water transportation in Lagos State with and it's a 5-year project which would see to bring in 78 electric ferries.
Electric ferries?
Yes. 20.
How does that work?
Well, it's the same way the electric buses are working. So you're going to have, of course.
So instead of them using fuel,
yes,
good. Yeah, so they'll be charged and
absolutely charged at the stations, and then for the duration of the trip, and then you come back to your location, charge again. But there are going to be different charging spots as you go along the trips. So along the routes, you have different spots where you can definitely charge. But of course, you charge enough for your trip. When you get back to the station, while waiting. The ferries will be charging, and then it proceeds on its trip.
Wow, so that's innovative.
Absolutely, that's why I said that. Well, it's a plan. You know, as you say, if you plan to fail, then if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Right.
So we, of course, Lagos always plans, and then we execute, and that's what we're currently doing. So it's a 5-year project which starts from this year, and then it's also going to see the upgrade of 20 jetties and terminals. It's also you're also going to see the dredging and channelization of about 140 kilometer of the inland waterways. And of course there will be capacity building for executing agencies as well.
All right, we'll talk about the time frame for operations for those that make use of the waterways. But first off, let's dwell a bit on partnerships. So what roles do private sector investment play in improving inland waterways transportation?
Well, Lagos State provides the infrastructure. The real private sector investment comes in terms of the actual ferries. But of course, because Lagos State has also seen that it's a capital intensive area, which is why first time we're now also, of course, getting ferries, and which I think would continue as well, because the ferries are gotten by the state government, but then of course they are operated by the private sector as well, because as you know, the private sector as well, would always be able to run it a lot more better. But of course, the states will always still be there to ensure that we're setting a benchmark for them, and of course, we're able to complement what the private sector is doing, because the public sector is not there to compete; it's just there to set the standards and also ensure that we also complement what the private sector is doing.
If I have money today and I want to put it on water transportation, is there a place I can recoup my money first?
Well, no, it's long term.
It's a long term kind of business.
It's actually long term. It's capital intensive.
No short term kind of thing.
It's long term.
All right, the Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, Lagos Transport Trends and Perspectives is a program, and Damilola Emmanuel, the General Manager of LASWA, Lagos State Waterways Authority, is taking us on an excursion this morning, and we're looking at inland water transportation. If you want to have a word with him, or perhaps just react to some of the things that he has said so far, feel free to connect with us. 091 53877127. That's 091 53877127 and 08099 120777. Okay, 08099 120777. Let's talk about people that make use of the waterways and the culture that they are bringing to bear. Once upon a time, people would rather go on the waterways without taking the life jackets. Has that behavior, has it changed?
No, you have to. You need your life jackets.
Okay.
Life jackets are very important, but people still do. I say that there's almost a 90% compliance rate with wearing life jackets on the waterways.
All right.
And it's something that's really, really helped, because in case of any emergencies, life jacket will keep you safe even as much as 24 hours.
All right, let me see if I can take this call that's coming in. Hello there, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Victor. How are you? This is Abdul Malik.
Abdul Malik, how are you doing? Happy New Year to you.
Wish you same. How is everybody doing there too?
Very good. It's been like 10 years, the last time I heard from you.
I'm following up. I'm following up closely.
All right.
How's everything?
Good.
Okay, yeah, quickly. Good morning, our guests. You've been fantastic. I've been enjoying the program, and you have rolled out so many fantastic programs and all that. Kudos to the team. I just want to say something. In as much as the operation is gradually taking shape and running smoothly, how is the synergy is looking like with the tourism section of the government parastatal? How are you guys trying to synergize so that come every festive period we can have something like a boat cruise? Because to me, if we have not gotten to that point, I don't think we have actually explored the entire value chain of the blue
economy
business.
Right.
Economy, yeah. Then what are you trying to do with those guys in Nigeria living by the waterways? how are you trying to like bring them on board in providing seafoods for the guys, if I'm moving on the cruise, how can I just, something like a mini market? I'm not saying we should establish a full-fledged market, because I've seen a place that I don't want to advertise outside the country, where on a very short cruise, you can have fish, you can have crabs, you can have all these seafood, even while riding on the ship, or riding on the boat. So are you guys trying to look at something like that, so at least you can have it in an holistic business circle with the blue economy?
All right.
That just might be.
Great one indeed. Thank you so much, Abdul Malik, for that one. I think it's opening our eyes to hear a lot here.
Absolutely.
David Emmanuel, what's your response?
Well, thank you so much, Abdul Malik. I think maybe you are reading the books of Lagos State.
I think he has a sneak preview. What's going on?
I mean, a very, very good point you made, which is very true, because you've seen tourism grow, especially even in December. You saw how much of the influx of tourists came into Lagos, and of course, one of the places they visited a lot was the waterways, and even we had the water regatta, which also, boosted the image of Lagos regarding the waterways as well. So yes, we're linking up with tourism. Of course, Ministry of Transportation works with Ministry of Tourism. One of the key things, identify locations where people can actually visit. And of course, what we've then done as well is, of course, worked with the private operators as well. For them to be able to access the jetties and terminals to pick up passengers and then move them to all of these locations. So it's actually available, but I hear you, because one of the things that we'll probably do a lot more is advocacy and to increase the awareness and sensitization.
Let me take this call as well. Hello there, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Victor.
All right, who am I speaking with?
Dr. Busari.
Hey, it's nice to hear from you. Happy New Year to you, Dr. Busari.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Manuel, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
After so many years, I hope you still remember me.
I do, sir. How
yes, Dr. Busari, I was in the Agri-Fisheries Department then.
Absolutely. How are you, sir?
Yeah. I want to commend you, at least in terms of the enforcement of the use of safety jackets.
Yes, sir.
I have traveled around, and there was a time I was in Benue State.
Yes, sir.
We had to cross a big river without life jackets.
Wow.
And I said, look, this cannot happen in Lagos. I refused to cross that river.
Wow.
With our big vehicle. You understand? So I commend you on that.
Thank you, sir.
Then secondly, it's related to what the man asked me in respect of tourism. But this time around, pertaining to fisheries.
Yes, sir.
You know there are some people using open water for cage culture.
Yes, sir.
And you remember the last time we were at your office then, we had an agreement whereby those using the water for cage culture, so that those boats that are coming, will not disturb their cages. That is cage culture, to raise fish.
Yes,
right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
So please keep on,
doing something
them in business. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much.
So what is Lassa going to be doing about that? I mean, so that you do not disrupt the business of those who are in the cage culture.
Well, as you know, what he's just basically saying is enforcing, because what happens at the boats sometimes, that's the boat operators, sometimes in terms of either navigation, or they basically impede, or they basically sometimes even run over
some of those
things as well. So it's basically, of course,
are there routes that have been marked on the waterways that boats can ply?
Well, yes, but you know how it is. The waterways is large and being used by several operators. So we have almost 5 operators. You have the dredgers, the sign miners, the loggers, the boat operators, and even the fishermen. So you have 5 different stakeholders all trying to manage the waterways. So there's general camaraderie amongst those who are using the waterways. But of course, it's also very important for us to keep adhering to both safety rules and regulations, and ensuring that you are mindful of the next person using the water.
Returning to Abdul Malik's concern about tourism, any major plans this year, at least to expand on what you had last year? No. I mean, last year was a boom, but can we take it to another level?
No, definitely. I'm sure you even know. Even just last Saturday, the Lagos Ferry Services, had Ignite. On the waterways. Yes, had Ignite, and also people took a cruise from Falomore around the 5 Cowrie Creek, and across the year, like Ferryways comes up with several programs, and there are private operators who actually do cruises. So once you get to them, that's why I said that it's just to also reach out to the operators to increase a lot more awareness and sensitization so that people can access some of these services.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM 08099120777. Damilola Emmanuel is General Manager of LASWA, and we are looking at steps taken so far to promote inland water transportation in Lagos and what is happening. A message here says, Mr. Emmanuel, what are the key infrastructural developments currently taking place to improve the waterways in Lagos? Bode is sending that one in from Ikorodu.
Okay, I think we've spoken about that, but
yes.
I'll say it again.
But let's assume it's just tuning in.
No problem. Basically to, of course, the jetties and the terminals, continue to upgrade the jetties and terminals. Of course, influx of more boats, more of the bigger capacity boats, the 40 passenger and higher boats as well. And of course, continue to improve the search and rescue units, as well as we continue to deploy technology to monitor and of course be able to gather data from our waterways as well.
All right. This one says, good morning. What routes are currently served by the that's omnibus ferries, and are there plans for expansion? Samuel is sending that one in.
Well, like I mentioned, Samuel, I don't know if you were online earlier on, we had both commercial and charter. We've seen that a lot more is being used a lot more for charter. But in terms of the commercial, it was planned for, of course, Ikorodu to Falomo. We also planned Badore as well to Falomo. We also planned for the Ojo to Marina as well. Okay. And of course, we also planned for, of course, Apapa as well to Falomo as well.
All right. So for organization, can organizations hire these boats?
Yes, definitely.
So you can
that's what's happening. Organizations and even private individuals are hiring it for charter to go to the beach and then just to go.
All right. This one says, good morning, Traffic Radio. For someone like me who can't swim and have a phobia for being in water, what measures are in place to ensure the safety of passengers, particularly in the case of accidents or emergencies on the waterways? Sheikh Ibrahim, regular on this program. Thank you so much for sending that one in.
Sheikh Ibrahim, there are many of you like that. Don't worry, it happens. And I think that first of all, like I said, the first thing is we've ensured that people wear their life jackets. Life jackets keeps you safe in terms of any emergency. And actually, because of the life jacket, water transportation is considered very safe because hardly, except an accident happens or maybe there's a leakage in the boat, that's when you have issues with boats having any kind of accident. And then beyond that as well, like I mentioned, I said we've been improving our search and rescue units, and now that we're using technology to monitor real time, it's much quicker for us to be able to identify when there are issues, on the waterways.
If there's any issue on the waterways, for instance, in terms of emergencies, what do you guys do from LASWA?
Well, they have to call. You call an emergency number. Of course, you can either read the 767 or 112. Of course, call us directly on 0809 012 9888 or 0809 012 9777.
Okay, so once they put a call across, you can now activate your emergency response on the waterways.
Yes, we can.
All right, then. This one says, good morning. How does the integration of cowrie cards enhance the experience for passengers using the omnibus ferries? You didn't put your name? Thank you so much.
Well, it does, because the omnibus only functions with cowrie card, apart from the charter service, which obviously, of course, is a paid service. But in terms of the commercial operations, the cowrie card is strictly for omnibus. Strictly runs on with the cowrie card, and how it syncs is that, of course, with the cowrie card, you can then move on to the rail service as well, as well as the BRT as well, because the rail also only uses cowrie card.
Okay.
And then the BRT service, of course, uses the cowrie card.
My listeners, this morning, those of you that are very regulars, Oluwaluko, have you gone on the waterways recently? Comrade Daniel, where are you? Share that experience with me, even though we have limited time left on the program. 091-5387-7127 and 080-99-120-777. Those are the numbers that you can use to connect with us. All right, more messages coming in. Is there a call? Let's see. Hello there. Okay, I guess I lost that. This one says, good morning. My name is Biola. Please, Mr. Emmanuel, can the omnibus ferries handle adverse weather conditions, and what precautions are in place? Okay. Yeah, that's just it.
Well, most definitely it can, which is why, of course, the way the boats have been built as well is to ensure that it can withstand any kind of weather conditions. We've improved upon them, but of course, from where we had what the informal sector is largely dominated by, to ensure that these are the kind of boats that people want to use on the waterways.
Okay.
Even just seeing them gives you some level of comfort for you to be able to get in. And of course, the boat also possesses components that also improves, of course, its safety.
Right. In terms of the ticketing, anything that users should expect this year in terms of improvement?
In terms of ticketing?
Yes, ticketing, the pricing.
Well, I can speak to that. So I guess we continue to ensure that we really
LASFA doesn't regulate the prices.
We don't regulate the prices, so we can't speak to that. But we pray that the price of petrol comes down. At least for now, where they were still using fossil fuel boats. Then, as we move away from fossil fuel boats, of course, then we'll have a significant drop in the prices.
Safety now. Let's go back to safety and those that are, the captains, those that man those boats and all of that. Do you have any regular kind of trainings for them?
Yeah, well, we have engagements with them and trainings, but of course we have NIMASA who certifies.
Oh, okay, NIMASA certifies.
Certified, but we ensure that we train them, we sensitize them, have programs for them as well. And there are a few operators who put together programs, of course, and which we as regulators also support, because at the end of the day, we're all working together to improve the waterways.
Right. All right, then. So even as we gradually wind down to the end of the program this morning, you need to talk about that this year there will be lots electric boats.
Not coming in this year, but
okay.
The process starts this year.
It starts this year. What else? Some of those boats that you have, what features do they have that people can really enjoy on board?
Well, there's USBs to be able to charge your phone.
Okay.
Because really, what we've always wanted is we always wanted a transition from the old to the new, and we dare say that the new is here now, which the Omnibus has started to improve to show.
Right.
And of course, from the Omnibus, we're still going to more standard boats.
All right, Damilola Emmanuel, seasonally, there's always the devil on the waterways. We call it water hyacinths. What's the Lagos State government doing about that to ensure that these water hyacinths are going to be effectively curtailed, despite this year, and then we do not have any major mishaps?
Well, last year wasn't as bad as this year, because what we did was we were able to curb it on time, especially for those locations where we had large people who, especially in locations where we have a lot of activity. And what we do is called a pegging process, and then of course a clearing process. And we do this in conjunction, of course, with the Ministry of Waterfront and Infrastructure Development as well, to ensure that we can ensure that we block out the water icing from accessing the jetties, so it doesn't impede operations. But of course, yes, we still have it coming in here and there, because it usually will come. But beyond that as well, we also have partnered with companies who actually transform this water hyacinth into marketable products. There's a company called Mitimeth, who transform this water hyacinth into materials being used for art and crafts.
You mean it?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, that sounds beautiful. Let's round this off right now. Your message to the listening public as we hit 2025, but of course, as we talk inland water transportation, what I think that Lagosians will expect this year?
Well, I don't think I think we've spoken extensively about that. I think it's just try the waterways, but however, if you're going to try it, make sure you wear your life jacket and stay safe.
One must use it, right?
Absolutely.
All the time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Damilola Emmanuel.
Thank you.
He is the General Manager of the Lagos State Waterways Authority, LASFA, and this morning we've been able to look at viable transportation in Lagos, the inland waterways option. We have to go, like I did say, Lagos Transport Trends and Perspectives comes to your listening pleasure every Tuesdays from 9:15 through 10 o'clock. It is an initiative of the Lagos State Ministry of Transportation, and you can always reach out to them if there are issues in transport that you would want some quicker solutions. Let's go. The program has been produced by Dio Anthony, and of course in the building as well, say a big thank you to Remy Aluko, as well as to our friends from the ministry. Bolanle Ogunola is Director of Public Affairs for the ministry. Jumoke Bello in the building as well. Thank you for working tirelessly behind the scene, just so that this program can be on stream. Our executive producer is Taya Akonle, and maximum thanks to Okoyemi Shodunke. My name is Victor Oteri. I'm out. Stay very much within. Bye.
Emmanuel, General Manager at Lagos State Waterways Authority, and I'm here to bring you a safety message about using the waterways. Make sure you always have your life jackets on the waterways because it's the singular most important asset you should have. And of course, in case of any emergency, please call the emergency number 767 or 112 and we'll be quick to respond to whatever that emergency might be. This message has been brought to you by Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, moving Lagos forward.
We are the dial that helps you navigate through Lagos traffic with